Kevin.
Thank you for my kid. Thanks for asking me to lead Louis. It's good to be here. I was told early on to always say yes to an AA request. I have not said no yet, and my life keeps getting better. So I guess I'll start at the beginning. You know, I spoke here like 2 or 3 years ago, so I'll try and share something different. But I got started pretty late. Like I was a pretty driven kid. I was pretty straight and narrow, really cocky. Better than you, I was smarter than you, I knew I could beat everybody at everything, I tried to, and that was like my goal. And it kept me pretty honest for quite a while. And I went all the way through school, all the way through college. I drank a lot in college, but I had no consequences to show for it. I had a girlfriend of 8 years at the time, my high school sweetheart, who was probably the first person to ever give me a glimpse into my maybe abnormal relationship with alcohol when she asked me at around the age of 21, why do you want to drink doing everything? And I didn't understand her question because at the time I was 21. I'm acing my classes, I'm still not in trouble with the law, my family loves me, I have money, I have friends. Why wouldn't I drink during everything? And so she was a smart woman. She maybe saw things I didn't understand at the time yet. But I mean, at that point in my life, it was still working. Fast forward to grad school, I met Joey. Joey was my roommate. I was 22 years old, we moved in together, and he was extremely level at that time. Ironically, I see you take a 6-month trip today, dude, and your face was beaming, and like, what a gift. What a weird gift. Right? I never thought it would come. That was 16 years ago, I moved in with him. And very quickly in grad school, I lost control. I can't tell you why, but something, I mean, I have speculations of things, like my life was not that bad until I got there, and then I started doing things that I started to have guilt about, resentment towards people, and these feelings that started to well up maybe pushed me over the edge, but all I know is there was a very distinct night, very early in grad school, where I lost the ability to choose what I was going to drink and use. And I was in school for healthcare. I was training to be someone who worked on human beings, and I would very quickly lost the ability to get up even and go about my day without being loaded. I had to get loaded in the morning to leave my house. I'd see a patient in the morning, and I knew that it was wrong, but I knew I wouldn't show up, and I couldn't be there, and I couldn't deal with people, so I was loaded. So I tried to find that perfect level where I would not get caught, not hurt anyone, not screw anything up, but I had to do it to show up. And in lunch break, I'd step into the stairwell of the parking garage, just smoke a joint, smoke some cigarettes. Hopefully I just smell like cigarettes, walk back in, see another person, another human being that's trusting me to do right by them. And I kept this up for several years, and it got worse and worse and worse. I don't think I had a particularly low bottom or a particularly glamorous story, but I'll tell you what my alcoholism was like if we knew. Every morning for years, I woke up with a desire that was sincere and heartfelt not to do that routine again that day. And every single day, I did it again. Usually before 8 a.m. like really, really quickly. And you can only do that so many times where you say, I'm not going to do something. I know I'm not going to do something. I'm going to really try to not do something, and then do it before you realize, like, what is wrong with me? What a piece of shit, And I tried stupid things to stop, I tried, limiting the amount, I tried the different brands, I tried only doing it on weekends, only with my friends, only if we're partying, and like, before long, I'm like showing up at people's houses at like 10, 11 at night, going, hey, let's hang out, and they're like, get out of my house, like, we need to party, get out of my house, and I looked at one girlfriend after the other, dead in the eyes, would lie about being high, being about drunk. They'd ask me, did you do it again? And I literally had like 5 minutes earlier. I'm like, no. And, nothing too crazy other than I knew I was living a complete lie. And I was about to lose everything I'd ever worked for. I was succeeding on paper, but I didn't want what I had. And that's as much as I can tell you about my alcoholism, is I genuinely wanted to stop. I could not. The things I thought I wanted, I got. I was completely empty inside. Fast forward 4 years of that, and I'm almost ready to graduate. And actually, like, I got sober May 21st, 2012, and I was so close to graduating that I probably would have, even if I didn't get sober. Like, it was weeks. If I just didn't die for a few weeks, I probably still would have graduated. But like I said, I'm the type of, alcoholic who gets on top of the edge of a building 7 stories high and looks over the edge. Like, I'm not like, I did not want the life I had anymore. And I started going to AA with a buddy, actually probably about a month earlier. I had a classmate at the time, another friend of ours that had been sober once in the AA before, but he was no longer. And it's about time to graduate. All our buddies are throwing parties. Most of them are good model citizens. Most of them are good professionals and responsible adults and can drink like normal people. And they're throwing parties. They're moving away, goodbyes. They're graduating party, and I'm starting to make a bigger ass of myself, and my friend is starting to make a bigger ass of himself, and it's starting to become pretty publicly visible. And he says to me, "We need to go to AA. I met some guys before. Let's go. You're gonna stop." I'm like, "Yeah, let's do that." I did not fight it, I did not resist it, I genuinely did not like the life I was leading. We were going to meetings for about a month, and then we'd get big books, talk to people, smoke in the parking lot afterwards, and get numbers, but we were relapsing like every 2-3 days. We just could not stay sober. And we're like, what are we doing? And finally, after like a month of that, we're like, I think we need to get a sponsor and do those steps they're talking about. So we're like, let's find a sponsor. And we took it upon ourselves to interview for sponsors. We pull out your phone and call up all your old buddies, and we will meet them, and if we like them, we'll pick that guy. We'll ask him. We'll ask him to go steady. And then we'd call one guy after another. He'd meet us outside of the meeting. He'd do his AA doodly function. I'm gonna need okay. Most of them were just show up, talk to us for a few minutes. But one guy in particular said, meet me at the Coffee Bean I was in Santa Monica area at the time, on Overland and on Overland, I don't know. It was by a strip club in West LA. And he said, we're going to go to this Coffee Bean. It's like 2 in the afternoon, and the D's team is walking into work, and we're sitting down with this guy, and he whips out the book, and we start reading. And I walked away from that with a profound impression that was not going to be the guy that we were going to pick to be our sponsor, and that guy is my sponsor to this day. And the reason is that guy was not joking, he wasn't faking, he wasn't talking out of his ass. He really was a guy who would meet any newcomer, put him in his car, meet him at a coffee shop, get him back on his sofa, read the big book with him, drive him to meetings, and live the real deal life of Alcoholics Anonymous. Wherever I'm needed, wherever I need help, I'll do it. And that's what I needed at the time. And we started working steps pretty quickly, and my life got better pretty quickly. I probably shared a lot of that last time, so I'll talk about what happened around early sobriety. So I was graduating from a college in West LA, and at 40-something days, 45 days sober, my lease ended, I was done, and I moved out to San Gabriel Valley, and I got my doctorate, and what I did what every big shot doctor does, I moved in with my grandma. My grandma lived in Monterey Park. She had an apartment behind her house, and at this point in my life, I just got nothing going for me. I technically have arrived, but I got nothing. 40 days sober. I don't have to explain it to you. 40 days sober, But that situation and that relationship and that place in my life is extremely important and healing to me. My grandma was someone who's been in my life my whole life, but she's an immigrant from China that was someone who's been here since the 60s, but really didn't learn any English, and I didn't really learn any Chinese. And we saw each other all the time. We'd see each other weekly, every other week for my entire life. We'd have family meals together. She loved me, I loved her, but we could not communicate on a very high level. And all she knew is that I need some help. I'm kind of getting stuff back together. I'd go to work during the day, go to a bunch of meetings, come back at night, and we had this routine where really early on I found my meetings. I only go to men's stags of AA, really. That's all I've ever gone to. And I'd have one on Monday night, I'd have one on Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and I had my routine where literally I could tell you for my first several years of sobriety, within 20-minute, 30-minute accuracy, where I'd be through my week. And that might sound boring, but it is at all. I went to work in different places, I went to meetings in different places, I talked to different people. Every single day, I talked to dozens of different people, went different places. I don't know if most people can say that, you know? I had a really good life. But like, this routine was very fundamental to my early sobriety. I did my steps, my life got better, and you know, as my life got better, I'm still like, you know, pretty young guy just starting to do what you do when you get your first year, and congratulations on the second year. You know, the second year was hard. I think honestly, most of me and my buddies got our ass whooped in our second year. Like, I don't know why. First year was not that hard to us. Some people find it awful, but my first year was pretty easy. And the second year, a bunch of us finally had life catch back up with us and went, oh shit, we got to deal with some stuff. And like, it was a tough one. But as you do that, like, you know, it's like, what happens is you work the steps, the desire to drink and use completely leaves, and then you're left with what? Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you do with the rest of your life? What do human beings do once they're not, you know, completely in the hole all the time? And that's what I learned to do in that place. I was still living with my grandma, and every Monday night we'd get dinner at 7 o'clock, and I'd eat with her, and then I would go to my men's stag at the Alana Club at 7 or 8 o'clock at the time. It was like 8:30 meetings at the time. And like, I had like this routine down, and then, you know, I could see my life changing slowly, you know. I had, one of the first things I did when I got sober, like, I got back with an ex-girlfriend, and that relationship was like ruinous. I didn't relapse over it, but like, man, if I wanted to make my sobriety easier, I didn't have to do that, but I did. And when that relationship ended, like, I had like a really rough time learning every single thing that you could do wrong in sobriety, aside from relapsing, that won't make you feel better. Like, I did over exercising, overeating, buying a bunch of shit I don't need, having sex with girls I don't like all this stupid stuff. Like, and like, as I did these things one by one, like, I tried for a long time, and I'm very active in AA at this time. I'm going to meetings, I'm secretary, I make enough service, I have commitments, I have responsees, I do gratitude lists, I do prayer meditation, but like, I found during that period of my life that I was very, very, very unhappy and bordering on insane. And what it really took to get me out of that was really a deeper and truly like convicted relationship where I knew my higher power would have my back. And like, you call it the 11th step or whatever you want to call it, but I got to a point where like I really had to square up with my own higher power and be like, I feel like shit, and I've done everything AA asks of us. Like 10 meetings a week, 4 sponsees, 2 commitments. Like, what do you want more? I'm exhausted. I felt like crap for like 6 months, 9 months now. What could and immediately, I immediately felt like God was there, like present, as if there was something with me. And it started to get easier and easier, and it pulled me out of that kind of funk. And my life would change, and I lived still with my grandma at this still for years, and you know, things would happen. And I finally did, several years later, I met a girl that would eventually be my wife, and if anyone's met her, you know, she's a really good person. There's anything that is, you know, concerning or alarming about her. She's very, very well.
Just wait.
Yeah, no. But like, and I knew, like, with my grandma, so I talked to her dad. I'm gonna propose to this girl, and I buy a diamond, and the first person I bring it to is I bring it to my grandma, and I show it to her, and she doesn't speak much English. I don't speak much Chinese, but she knew what it meant. Like, a couple of years ago, you move in here, you're a piece of crap, you got nothing to do, you got no job, you got no money, you got no girl, except that crazy girl, and then like, you know, like, and here you are, stable, and that was a moment we shared, you know. And then a few years later, we got married, and then, you know, we tried to have kids for a little bit, and it took a little while. It wasn't right off the bat. I had to spend a ton of money to have my kids, but I did, and we did. And when we got pregnant, I took the first person I brought that ultrasound to. At this point, I had actually moved in with my wife, but we lived up the block, and I still had dinner with my grandma every Monday, and I still go to my men's stag after every Monday. And we ate dinner one night, and the first person I showed that ultrasound to is my grandma. And she doesn't speak much English. I don't speak much Chinese, but she knows what that means. Like, my life is moving forward. Things are getting better. I am building a normal life that maybe didn't sound exciting to me before, but is all I've ever wanted, apparently. And, you know, and I get to share these things with her, and you know, there were a lot more people in my life that were meaningful, and a lot more things that happened that were meaningful, but like, that to me was always like a framework of like, seeing before, you know, after, during, after, progressing along, and just like growing up, becoming a sober man, learning how to live life, building things. And like, she died the day after Christmas 2020, but like, up until that point, I don't even know, like almost 8 years of dinners on Monday with her. That's like hundreds of dinners that I got to share and show her that every week I'm like, yes, I'm here, yes, I'm not crazy, yes, I'm not rambling, yes, I'm not high or drunk, and yes, I'm going to, and I go to a meeting afterward, and this little framework of AA kept me solid, stable, moving forward, and people from the outside took notice. You know, last time I spoke here was probably about, a couple of years at least. No, last time I got, how long have I got?
Oh, you got a question? 3 to 5.
3 months. Last time I spoke at this meeting was probably 2 to 3 years ago. At that point, I had just bought my first, probably hopefully my last house ever. And I just bought a house with my wife. And I had 1 kid. And it was the most stressful fucking time of my life. We had just had a miscarriage, that's why we bought a house. Well, shit, we're not gonna have a kid while we bought a house. And we shopped and we shopped, and it was high of the mark, it was super expensive, escrow was crazy, they tried to kick us out because we found a bunch of damage and complaining, and like, long story short, you know, like, I've always stayed close to AA. I've always had sponsees, steps, meetings, service. I don't stray from AA too far ever. Yeah, thankfully, hopefully. But there are times in my life in sobriety that I've gotten more and less crazy, and it's when I get actually more good stuff, like more outside stuff. The AA stuff, like in here, and then like the extra stuff out there. Like the more stuff I have, it's just been more time, responsibility, and money, man. Everything I have today, I have a wife, I have 2 kids, I have a house, I have a business. All these things I did not have when I got sober. Every single one of them asked for my time, my energy, and my money, man. It's insane. And like, what I try to remember is I volunteered for this stuff. Not only that, I asked for this stuff. I need to be grateful for these things. And, but that house purchase was rough on me and my wife. And that was probably right on the last time I talked here, because me and my wife were like, in each other's faces, like disagreeing, not just about money, just like how things are done, who's gonna watch my daughter while like trying to fix something while she's 1.5 years old and wrecking something, and like it was just like very, very, very rough on her marriage. And like what happened was we could be like, yeah, you know, it's a tough thing, you know, you do it, you get through it, and you whatever. But like 6 months, 9 months, a year had passed, and like we had gotten the house, we had fixed the house, we had unpacked the house, we had cleaned the house, messied the house, cleaned the house, messied the house, cleaned the house, messied the house, several times over, and I'm still going, yeah, we're fighting because we got a house. I'm like, that's the old story, man. You can't keep saying that. You're fighting with your wife because you're a fucking untreated alcoholic dickhead who's not working steps. You're like, that was a year ago. It was probably the last time I spoke here. And in the last 2-3 years, you know, we've had big improvements and step backs too. And we had a second kid, and like a lot of times we just fight about how to raise kids. And the truth is, I think we're great parents, and we work really well together as a team. But even then, we just have like, this is my hill that I'm gonna die on because I believe in this thing. And it happens every so often. And it's like, at the end of the day, I can look and say, I have a wonderful, blessed life. All this stuff is a result of staying close to AA. I have people that are good around me. But like, what it comes down to is like, remembering that I am not just sober and done. Like, if I could, in my last minute or two, what I need to work on nowadays, I can't be a 2-stepper. It's a guy who gets sober and tells other people how to get sober. 1 to 12, skip the middle. You know, I just took a couple guys through steps 6 and 7. And as I'm doing it with them, it's like fucking the knife in your chest. Like, when's the last time you really asked God to help you with that thing you know you're doing? On a daily basis, 1 day at a time. And like, I never get too far in the big sense, but I can't get far in the small sense. Those little things, like steps 2 through 11, are important. And they can't just be done and say, my life's good now, I'm sober, bye. Or like, I'm fixed, bye. Or like, I'm sober, I don't have to do anything ever again. And like, I do have good days, I have bad days, but it's, you know, it's been overall a bitchin' ride. I love the life I have, I love the people in it and around me, and on any given day, I can be connected to my higher power, my fellow man, and the world around me. You know, I just need to ask for help one day at a time. So it's good to be here. I think that's probably my time. That's it. Thank you.
Great story.